It was supposed to be an ordinary day on the coast of California. The sun blazed overhead, casting golden reflections on the waves. Crowds gathered on the beach, enjoying the warmth and calm of the afternoon. Among them was Nathan Brooks, a 28-year-old marine biologist, known for his adventurous spirit and passion for the ocean. Nathan had always felt a deep connection with the sea. Growing up in a small coastal town, he spent most of his childhood exploring tide pools, watching dolphins, and learning everything he could about marine life. His friends admired his fearless attitude, especially when it came to deep sea dives and exploring dangerous waters. That day, Nathan planned a solo diving expedition to explore a mysterious underwater cave system recently discovered off the coast. Rumors surrounded these caves, stories of unpredictable currents and strange sounds echoing from the depths. But for Nathan, it was just another challenge waiting to be conquered. As he prepared his diving gear, his best friend Jordan approached him. "You sure about this, man? These caves are no joke. No one's mapped them out yet," Nathan grinned. "That's exactly why I need to be the first. Don't worry, I'll be back before sunset." With that, Nathan boarded his small boat and set out toward the shimmering horizon. The wind was calm, the sky clear, a perfect day for exploration. As he reached the coordinates of the cave system, he double-checked his oxygen levels, secured his equipment, and dived into the deep blue. The underwater world was breathtaking. Schools of colorful fish darted around coral formations, and shafts of sunlight pierced through the water, illuminating the cave's entrance. Nathan signaled his GoPro to start recording, capturing every moment. But as he ventured deeper into the cave, the light from the surface began to fade. The walls of the cave narrowed, and the sounds of the ocean seemed to hush. Nathan felt a chill creep over him. The water grew colder, and visibility dropped. He glanced at his watch. Everything seemed normal. Oxygen levels were stable, yet something felt off. Suddenly, a powerful current surged through the cave. Nathan tried to stabilize himself, but the force was too strong. He was dragged deeper into the darkness. His flashlight flickered. Panic started to set in. He fought to swim against the current, but it was relentless. Then, just as suddenly as it started, everything went still. Nathan floated in complete darkness. His flashlight flickered one last time before dying completely. He was alone, deep in an uncharted cave with no light and no clear way out. Back on shore, Jordan waited for Nathan's return. Hours passed. The sun began to set. Nathan's boat bobbed quietly in the distance, but there was no sign of him. The Coast Guard was alerted. Search teams were dispatched, but there was no trace. No signal from his equipment. No bubbles from his oxygen tank. It was as if he had vanished into the ocean. 72 hours had passed since Nathan disappeared into the ocean. The coast of California remained as beautiful as ever, with the sun rising and casting a warm glow over the waves. But for those who knew Nathan, the brightness of the morning felt hollow. The search had been called off, and the conclusion was grim. Nathan was gone, or so everyone believed. But deep beneath the ocean's surface, within the labyrinth of the underwater caves, something stirred. Nathan awoke to complete darkness. His head throbbed, and for a moment, he couldn't remember where he was. The last thing he recalled was the strong current pulling him deeper into the cave. His oxygen tank was empty. Panic surged through him. He reached for his regulator and took a breath. Air! The tank wasn't depleted, but where was his flashlight? Fumbling in the dark, his fingers brushed against the cold rock walls of the cave. The water was unnervingly still. As he adjusted his position, he noticed a faint, almost imperceptible glow coming from a narrow passageway ahead. With no other option, Nathan swam cautiously toward the light. The passage opened into a vast underwater chamber. To his shock, air pockets clung to the ceiling of the cavern. He rose slowly, breaking the surface, and gasped for breath. The chamber echoed with each breath he took. Stalactites hung from the roof, and bioluminescent algae glowed faintly along the walls. casting an eerie blue light across the water. Nathan hauled himself onto a rocky ledge, shivering from the cold. As he tried to gather his thoughts, he noticed something strange. Items scattered across the ledge. A rusted diving helmet, an old wristwatch, and what looked like a tattered journal sealed in a waterproof pouch. Curiosity overcame fear. He grabbed the journal and flipped it open. The writing was faded, but still legible. If you are reading this, it means you've found the chamber. The current is no accident. This cave hides secrets that should never be uncovered. I tried to escape, but the tide always brings you back. Beware the tide. Nathan's pulse quickened. Who wrote this? How long had these items been here? And what did they mean by the tide always brings you back? Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the cavern. The water in the chamber began to ripple. Nathan scrambled to his feet, dropping the journal. The tide was rising, fast. He dove back into the water, searching for an exit. But the passage he came through had vanished, completely submerged by the rising tide. His oxygen tank was nearly empty now. He had to find another way out. Back on shore, Nathan's younger sister, Emily, refused to give up hope. She stood on the pier, staring out at the endless expanse of ocean. "You're out there, Nathan. I know you are," she whispered. Jordan, Nathan's best friend, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll find him, I promise." But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows over the water, the ocean kept its secrets. Deep below, in the heart of the underwater caves, Nathan Brooks's fight for survival had just begun. Nathan's muscles ached as he clung to the narrow ledge in the cavern. The tide had risen fast, forcing him to retreat from the water. He could still hear the faint echo of waves crashing somewhere beyond the walls. His breathing was ragged, each inhale a reminder that his oxygen tank was nearly empty. He had to find another way out, fast. Suddenly, a faint voice echoed through the cavern. Nathan froze. Was he hallucinating? The voice came again, clearer this time, a faint whisper carried by the tide. "Nathan, you can't leave." His heartbeat pounded in his ears. Gathering his strength, he grabbed the journal he had dropped earlier. Flipping through the pages, he found a sketch of the cavern system. One tunnel was marked with a symbol, an arrow pointing upward with a single word scrawled beside it, exit, and with no other option, Nathan slid back into the cold water. The bioluminescent algae lit a faint path along the rock walls. He followed the narrow passage, each stroke bringing fresh pain to his exhausted limbs. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a larger chamber. His eyes widened. There, illuminated by the faint glow, was a small air pocket at the top of the cavern. He surged upward, breaking the surface and gasping for air. But his relief was short-lived. A shadow moved beneath the water. Back on shore, Emily Brooks paced the length of the pier. The ocean breeze tugged at her hair, but she barely noticed. "Nathan's alive. I can feel it," she whispered to herself. Jordan stood beside her, scanning the horizon. The Coast Guard gave up too soon. Nathan's stronger than anyone gives him credit for. If anyone can survive out there, it's him. Emily turned to him, determination burning in her eyes. "Then let's prove it. We go back out there. Tonight." Jordan hesitated. "Emily, it's dangerous. The currents." "I don't care," Emily snapped. "He's my brother. I'm not leaving him out there." Jordan looked at her for a long moment before nodding. "All right, we'll find him." Meanwhile, deep in the cave, Nathan floated beside the ledge, catching his breath. He could still feel the presence beneath him. Suddenly, a powerful current surged through the chamber, dragging him backward. "No!" he screamed, kicking against the pull. But the current was too strong. As the water dragged him deeper, Nathan caught sight of something glinting beneath the surface, a metal grate embedded in the rock. The current seemed to flow through it, disappearing into darkness. With no time to hesitate, Nathan took a deep breath and dove. Nathan examined the metallic box. There was a latch, rusted but intact. With trembling fingers, he flipped it open. Inside lay an old compass, its needle spinning wildly before settling in a single direction. Underneath it, a note written in the same faded handwriting as the journal. The compass will guide you when the tide rises. Follow it, but beware. The ocean always takes what it's owed. Nathan barely had time to process the message when the cavern shook violently. A rush of water flooded the space, forcing Nathan to grab the compass and dive. The needle pointed toward a narrow fissure in the rock. With no time to hesitate, Nathan followed. The fissure led to a twisting underwater passage. Nathan swam with every ounce of strength he had left. The light from the algae dimmed behind him. His oxygen was running out. Just as his vision began to blur, a faint glimmer appeared ahead, a break in the rocks. Nathan's breaths came in shallow gasps. The rising tide had submerged most of the chamber. With his oxygen running dangerously low, he knew he had mere minutes to find an escape. His fingers traced the rocky walls, searching for any gap or passageway. Then a faint vibration echoed through the cave wall to his right. Nathan pressed his ear against the cold stone. It sounded like pounding? Could someone be out there? Driven by a surge of hope, he began pushing against the rocks. They didn't budge. Frustration gnawed at him. But then he remembered the journal's warning. The tide always brings you back. Was there a hidden current, a pull that could guide him? Taking one last breath from his dwindling oxygen tank, Nathan let himself sink back into the water. He stayed still, feeling for a tug, a pull, anything. A faint current brushed against his leg. There it was. Without hesitation, he followed it. The current led him through a narrow, twisting tunnel. His vision blurred. His chest burned for air. Just when he thought he couldn't go any farther, the tunnel widened, and he saw it, a faint shimmer of light above. With the last of his strength, Nathan kicked upward. Breaking through the surface, he gasped, filling his lungs with fresh air. Above him, an opening in the rocks revealed the evening sky. He wasn't out of danger yet, but he was closer than ever. The moonlight glistened on the surface. Gasping for air, he pulled himself onto the sand. He had made it. Emily and Jordan heard the distant sound of waves crashing against the rocks near the cliffs. Jordan grabbed a flashlight. "Come on, Emily! Over there!" They ran, hearts pounding, following the sound. As they reached the rocky edge, a figure emerged from the water. Wet, exhausted, but alive. Nathan Brooks. "Nathan!" Emily screamed, tears streaming down her face. Nathan pulled himself onto the rocks. For a moment, the siblings embraced. No words needed. Jordan joined them, relief written all over his face. "You found the way back," Jordan said breathlessly. "No," Nathan replied, looking back at the ocean. "The tide brought me back." The ocean, once a keeper of secrets, had finally returned what it had taken. Thanks for watching until the end. I'm Diana, and I'll be back every day with a new inspiring story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support me. Take care